We have some major breaking news today. The CBO, or the Congressional Budget Office, finally released the cost analysis on the social spending bill. And from the looks of it, the numbers are a little better than expected. For starters, we see articles like these right here. The CBO finds social spending bill adds to the deficit. Democrats' package saves about $160 billion on drug prices. CBO's analysis said it would slightly boost the deficit. The Build Back Better bill would add to the national debt. The Budget Office determines Democrats' spending bill will nudge the deficit higher. CBO cost estimate a disaster for Democrats, as well as the Democrats' $1.8 trillion social spending bill could add $367 billion to the budget deficit in 10 years, despite the new tax increases, as well as Biden's spending bill would add $367 billion to the deficit, not counting the IRS tax endorsement plan. In other news, late last night, lawmakers were putting in some overtime hours in trying to pass the social and the climate spending package in the House of Representatives. But one conservative lawmaker, Kevin McCarthy, he attempted to hold up the House vote by speaking for more than 3.5 hours straight. Yes, guys, he was still speaking at midnight Eastern Standard Time, which was the last time that I actually checked. And you can see one guy sitting right behind him falling asleep. But hey guys, we need to discuss these results from the CBO and what it means for passing of this stimulus bill. But before we get started, if you're interested in those topics, be so kind and hit that like button for us. It really helps out this channel. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's totally free, guys. Now let's go ahead and get right back into this video. Multiple state attorney generals are launching an Instagram investigation. A coalition of state attorney generals is launching an investigation into how Instagram, which is owned by Meta now, or also known as Facebook, draws in young users and affects their well-being. And some of the states involved, they announced this on Thursday. Now, this shouldn't be a big deal to Meta, or formerly known as Facebook, because tech companies like this have armies of lawyers and endless funds to fight off state action if the Attorney General's coalition investigation turns into a lawsuit. Now, earlier this year, a federal district judge dismissed a state attorney general antitrust lawsuit against Meta. But in September, Meta abandoned plans for an Instagram app for kids after lawmakers had an outcry. Now, one attorney general said that these social media platforms are extremely dangerous and have been proven to cause both physical and mental harm to young people, according to a New York attorney general, Lolita James. And now this story I told you about yesterday, about 4 Republicans actually created 4 bills about preventing the mask mandates and the vaccine mandates that was sent down from the Biden administration. Well, the Florida governor actually signed those bills on Thursday, which he didn't waste any time at all doing this. The Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, signed into law Thursday 4 bills that were passed by Republicans that protect workers who refuse to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, with these bills that were signed, Florida becomes the first state with a law imposing possible fines on companies that require a COVID-19 vaccine as a condition of employment. Now, the bills were passed during a special legislative session that the Republican governor convened to battle vaccine mandates. DeSantis, who has been undermined federal vaccine requirements for months, claimed victory shortly before the bill was passed. Now, the Florida governor said that he told Floridians that we would protect their jobs, and today we made that the law, said in a statement on Thursday. He said, no one should lose their jobs due to heavy-handed COVID mandates, and we have had the responsibility to protect the livelihoods of the people of Florida. Now, the Biden administration representatives did not immediately respond in response to the signing of these 4 bills in Florida. And now recently there have been a COVID alarm that has been pushed out that is saying that the COVID cases have risen more than 20%. Right here it says changing COVID-19 cases per 100,000 people in the last 2 weeks. Coronavirus cases are rising nationally and in most states, an ominous trend heading into the week of Thanksgiving. Now, 2/3 of Americans plan to have Thanksgiving gatherings that resemble their pre-pandemic festivities, according to a recent Monmouth University polling. But as cases rise, travel and indoor celebrations will put the millions of unvaccinated Americans at risk. Now, holiday gatherings and winter time have been on the Biden administration mind for months now and factored into the White House's initial plan to make booster shots widely available in September, according to one senior Biden administration official, is what he said. He said that we knew that we wanted to get ahead of this. Why do you think that we were pushing so hard for these COVID booster shots as well as these vaccine mandates in all states? But the FDA and the CDC initially authorized booster shots only for smaller high-risk groups, arguing that there wasn't enough data to support broader eligibility. They've expected to begin opening the shots up to all adults as early as today, but only so many people can get their shots in less than 1 week. Now, so far, they're saying that only 59% of Americans are fully vaccinated, according to the CDC, and just 37% of adults 65 years and older have gotten a booster shot, leaving millions of older Americans vulnerable to more severe breakthrough infections. Now, 10% of children ages 5 through 11 years old have received their first dose of the vaccine, which is an impressive number, by the way, given that the vaccines were only authorized for this age group this month. But the CDC director said that as we head into the holiday and winter season, now is the time to think about protection for ourselves and for our families. For those who are at higher risk of severe illness from COVID-19 and who are eligible for the COVID-19 booster shot can go out now and get your extra booster shot to protect you. And for those who are not yet vaccinated, getting vaccinated this week will set you up being fully protected in time for the holidays and by the end of this year. So yeah, guys, if you're planning on traveling or either gathering with your family members and friends over next weekend, be sure that you protect yourself and prevent you from getting COVID. And now it's time for some stimulus update news. The CBO, or the Congressional Budget Office, has finally released our cost analysis on the social spending bill on Thursday afternoon. And majority of people believe it was much better than expected. However, it does add some monies to the national deficit. Biden's social and climate plan is set for a House vote after a CBO analysis said it would slightly boost the deficit. Now, the Democrats are moving forward with a vote with the social safety net and the climate plan last night. Now, as I mentioned already, that they were planning on trying to vote on this bill in the House of Representatives late last night. And I mentioned that Kevin McCarthy was speaking on the floor for more than 3 hours straight, putting people to sleep. Yes, he was trying to actually hold up this vote from it actually happening, hoping that the time would prolong and everyone would just go home without voting on this bill. But on Thursday, the Congressional Budget Office, or the CBO, their estimate said that the Build Back Better Act would add $367 billion to the budget deficits over a decade, but it did not account in the top line for the revenue that's going to be raised by increased IRS enforcement of tax laws, which could potentially bring in more revenue to pay off this social spending bill. Now, 5 Democratic holdouts wanted to see the CBO score before they actually voted on this bill, which, as we can see, that we now have that cost analysis from the CBO. So that's why they're trying to bring this vote in the House of Representatives late last night. And if the House actually votes on this bill and they actually pass it, the Senate will likely approve of a different version once they get it on their floor. Now, a handful of centrist House Democrats wanted to see the nonpartisan CBO's projections of how the Build Back Better Act would affect long-term deficits before they actually voted for this plan. The $1.7 trillion bill would increase the budget deficit by $367 billion over the year of 2022 through 2031, according to the CBO. Now, the top line figure does not include estimates for revenue that's going to be raised by increased IRS enforcements of tax laws. Now, the Treasury Department has contended that the provision will generate another $400 billion and pay for the plan. The CBO estimated that it would lead to only $127 billion more in net revenue, which would leave the bill's spending plan roughly $250 billion short of being fully offset or fully paid for. Now, that would put it at approximately in line with the CBO's estimated deficit impact for the bipartisan infrastructure law that President Biden signed into law earlier this week. But if they are able to pass this bill Thursday night or either this morning, the legislation aims to make childcare more affordable, extend the enhanced child tax credit for another year, and hopefully they can try to bring this bill back up again to actually push the child tax credit to expire at the end of 2025, as well as this bill is going to create universal pre-K, as well as speed up the transition to green energy and to expand the Medicare and Medicaid plan. At least one part of the House plan, which is going to be 4 weeks of paid leave for most Americans. And that could get cut out once the bill actually gets to the Senate, which is what Senate Democrats are trying to cut out of this bill. Now, the budget estimates is that the concerns of at least 2 of the 5 Democratic holdouts, which is Representative Stephanie Murphy of Florida and Kurt Schrader of Oregon, at least one Democrat, Representative Jared Golden of Maine, will vote against this bill. Now, in the House of Representatives, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi can only lose about 3 votes and still pass this piece of legislation. Now, if the Democratic leaders can prevent enough defections to pass this bill, it will mark a breakthrough for the Democratic Party in what it calls or it views as transformational investments for the United States. Now, one positive thing regarding the results from the CBO's cost analysis is that it's projected to cut prescription drug prices by $160 billion. Now, also, according to this article, that the Democrats' package, according to the CBO, can actually save about $160 billion on drug prices. This article says right here that provisions to lower prescription drug prices in the Biden's Build Back Better package would save the government about $160 billion over the next 10 years, according to the Congressional Budget Office estimate that was released on Thursday. Now, that includes about $80 billion in savings from allowing Medicare to negotiate lower drug prices in limited instances, and another roughly $80 billion to limiting drug price increases to the rate of inflation. Now, Republicans and pharmaceutical companies have attacked this piece of legislation as harming innovation and leading to fewer treatments going forward. Now, the CBO estimated that the measure would result in 1 fewer drug coming to the market in the next decade, followed by 4 in the following decade and 5 in the next decade as well. Now, that's out of about 1,300 drugs that are expected to be approved in the next 30 years. Now, just to compare, Speaker Nancy Pelosi's measure from the 2019 would have saved about $450 billion from negotiating lower drug prices, though that measure also would have led to 8 fewer drugs coming to the market over a decade. But as we all know, that the Democrats have had to scale back the latest measure to meet the demands of a handful of moderates, including Senator Christine Sinema and Representative Scott Peters, who worried that the more far-reaching version would harm innovation for these drug companies to release new drugs to the economy. But anyways, this particular measure to lower the drug prices and the increasing of the drug prices going forward, the measure also caps out at a out-of-pocket cost for drugs at $2,000 per year for seniors on Medicare and at $35 per month for people taking insulin. So yes, guys, this is some great news that they're going to be able to include this in this stimulus package to actually lower drug prices for people on Medicare as well as Medicaid. And then lastly, Americans are furious with the results because they feel like they have been told a lie this whole time. Now, some of the people are going furious right now after the release of the CBO estimates and knowing that it's actually going to add to the deficit. Right here it says that the CBO cost estimate is a disaster for the Democrats. And now the reason that is because the American people, they were promised repeatedly that this social spending bill was not only paid for, but that it would cost $0. And that's why they're upset right now. And I must say, I have to agree. The Democrats were actually pushing this bill as if they had everything paid for according to the numbers. But looking at what the CBO had to release on Thursday afternoon, it says that $367 billion was not paid for from what the information that they have received, which goes against what the White House has been telling everyone, as well as the Democrats. So learning about this information on Thursday, it does not sit well with the Democrats and the American people, because they were told that this bill would cost $0. And now knowing that this is going to add to the deficit, which means that the Republicans and what they have been standing for all along was actually right. They are not wanting to add any money right now to the deficit, especially now that we are coming out of this pandemic and this country has just been printing money and money, just continuously printing money. And now knowing that we are going to have to print more money, $367 billion in order to add to this deficit, this does not sit well with the Democrats, and definitely not sitting well with the Republicans. So yeah, guys, all in all, they are still trying to vote on this bill. I'm not sure they're going to get enough votes as they wish they were. And as we even heard from Joe Manchin yesterday, he was saying that he was ready to get behind this bill, but he was still wanting to see what the numbers came from the CBO. So now we really need to hear exactly what Joe Manchin has to say about these cost analysis estimates from the CBO, and to see if he still wants to get behind this bill and actually support on it. But I will get back with you guys to let you know whether or not they were actually able to vote on this bill in the House of Representatives late last night, or if Kevin McCarthy is still speaking right now this morning and everyone else is asleep in the House or the chamber. But anyways, guys, hey, that's all I have for you today. Now, if you enjoyed this type of content and you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's totally free. And if you like this video, then go ahead and hit that like button for us. It really helps out this channel, as well as it tells YouTube to share this video with others. But anyways, guys, hey, I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.